Hey guys, it's me, Jenny. This- That's a great way to start a review. This will be my review on the movie Split by M. Night Shyamalan from 2016. I just saw it for the first time. And where do I begin? I guess let's start with the plot. The absolute basis of the movie is a person with DID has lost control of themselves and goes on a rampage, killing people. Well, not quite so simply, but yeah. Where do I begin? That's first off, the camera work is questionable. There are some scenes where you're just like looking at the backs of things. Like toward the end, there's a scene in a cop car. Wait, I'm just remembering stuff off the top of my head. A scene in a cop car where you're kind of like looking at a situation, and half of what you see is the back of the damn front seats of the car. I mean, that doesn't add anything. You easily could have put that as, you could have done like her like gazing out the window like you would on a bus kind of thing. That would have been a better thing for it. Just random notes. And then I'm not above spoiling the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie first and then come back and watch it. Don't be a dipshit. It ends up having a supernatural element to it where there's another personality who is some kind of superhuman or evolution or something, and is capable of taking 2 shotgun blasts at point blank range and bending bars and being perfectly fine with it. That alone is a different level of absurdity. While it can be argued that psychologically people like me are a little bit unique, it is definitely not a superpower. I don't have... none of us have super strength. None of me have super strength. I mean, there's minor physical differences at best, but nothing outside the range of what the physical body can do. Or I'm not going to start bending metal and taking shotgun blasts to my body. That's just absurd. Then there's the matter of the portrayal of the separate identities, the alters, if you will. They were all very, very cliche in that yes, they were all dramatically different in their own way for the point of it being a movie. Which is fine, to be honest, because it's a movie. You can't expect people to pick up on... You can't have a bunch of alters that are super subtle, like one of mine is, and then expect people to pick on that for a movie when it's supposed to be a movie. So I get that. The main problem with it is, normally when that kind of almost existential conflict comes into mind for someone like us, we tend to hurt ourselves. I've been hospitalized for suicide attempt, just stuff like that. It's a coping mechanism. You use it. You don't even use it. It does it on its own. It's there to deal with things that you feel that you can't deal with, and that's how it should go down. Not, okay, delusions of grandeur, bipolar style. I'm a god now, and I'm going to kill people. That's what that came down to. It was a bipolar, manic. It seemed like a mania, honestly, the end of that. Which again doesn't fit dissociative identity disorder. It's bipolar disorder. And then of course there is the stigmatization now that hopefully people will ignore an M. Night movie because he's a shitty writer to begin with. In that at the end of the movie, this whole diner's like fixated on the TV that oh my god, there's this killer on the loose who has dissociative identity disorder, DID. And it's the worst thing in the world. Now you gotta be suspicious of everybody who has DID. That's pretty frustrating. I have problems just letting people know about it. I hide it. I hid it from my wife. I hid it from my boyfriend until it became an issue. I and we do our best to present as a normal human being so that nobody will think we're batshit insane and have us locked up. Because that was a fear that I had growing up because my parents threatened it of, hey, be normal or we're going to lock you up. But again, let's get back to the movie. One of the main characters of the movie, I forget her name because I'm bad with faces and names, is a girl who has PTSD. And they visualize the PTSD fairly well, in that the only flashbacks that happen during the movie are hers. Pretty sure, let me think. Yeah. Well, the very obvious ones are hers. She has the flashbacks. She is distant. Gets kind of. She doesn't have to act out in an aggressive way. She says she'd. But yeah, she very clearly has PTSD, and one of the main things of it is the whole supernatural aspect of it. Is that this other personality that they call the Beast, Feed the Beast, Minecraft, will not harm or doesn't see people like me with messed up minds and stuff, people who have experienced trauma, as people. We're like elevated or something, and this and that. Like we're better than the rest of the human race. No. Again, delusions of grandeur. So there's the whole, everything, it's an amalgamation of a few different things. PTSD, DID, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia can be argued. But it's a movie. I mean, you can't take it as much more than that. I get that certain things, if you're going to do a movie, a fucking horror movie at that, certain things have to be exaggerated, and there has to be a point. It has to be drama. There has to be tension. And I mean, for me, it was hilarious. I thought the movie was funny because of how weird it was. But for normal people, I can see how having your own mind called into question might be a bit tense. So in that, it may or may not deliver. Again, depending on your own views on things. But for the most part, it's, like I said, it's just a movie. This therapist lady, his doctor in the movie, is probably the one who put it in his head that there are that there's some supernatural element to it, because she displayed a belief that I think one of the things she like gave a little lecture on in the movie at some point was that a blind person had alters that could see. She immediately went to, the mind must have regenerative properties, and that's why the others can see, because they've regenerated the eyesight. No, it's more likely hysterical blindness, which is completely psychologically based. So there is a matter of therapist-induced dissociative identity disorder. And I think that's what was displayed here. Not so much the trauma, not so much the PTSD based. Because while it did seem like the antagonist's character in this did have a traumatic event that would have caused PTSD, it also seemed a lot like it might have been therapist-induced, in that she might have put that into his head by being overly obsessed in her work and seeing things that aren't true. Which is, again, valid. And if you take it at that, it's actually not bad. Of course, there is still the matter that it actually was a supernatural character, which is, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's complete bullshit. It's pretty bullshitty. So if for some reason you watched this before you saw the movie, I gave away the ending, you can eat a dick. And, I mean, it's a movie. Don't take it too much. Suspend your disbelief, if you will. And just take it at that. It's a movie. Is it a good movie? Not in the slightest. It's a fucking M. Night Shyamalan movie, which already basically means it's bad. Like, you could just watch the last, 15 minutes of this and get everything you need from it without all of the extra bullshit. It'd probably be a lot. It could be edited into a very good movie, honestly. It's just not very well put together. There's a lot of extra stuff that doesn't need to be in there. There are a couple of scenes where the doctor lady is going, I think she was, in-home visiting another patient, because that person also seemed to display a couple of DID tendencies. And stuff like that. There's a lot of unnecessary parts to the movie, and as usual for an M. Night movie, a lot of unusual reactions. People not quite reacting the way they would in normal life. Even at the beginning of the movie, the girl with PTSD is for some reason invited to this party and decides to go, which is strange in itself. She's waiting around for her ride and looking kind of mopey, because she looks kind of mopey. And one of the other girls is psychoanalyzing her. And it's like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Who does that? Who goes around psychoanalyzing people off the top of their head like that? That's really, really strange. And a lot of unnatural reactions to things. But again, typical for an M. Night movie. So if you take it at that, again, it's just a movie. Not a very good movie. Not even a particularly good M. Night movie. Unbreakable was way better, and that's really the only movie of his I like. I don't like Sixth Sense. I don't like Signs. It's supposed to be a psychological thriller. That's what it's genred as, and it's not even very good at that. There is no tension. It's not scary. It's more weird and surprising and strange than anything. So, yeah. For some reason you want to see it, keep in mind that is not how people with DID are. While we are very, very strange and have our what seem like very weird personality quirks, eccentricities, we're usually not dangerous. The chances of one of us harming you instead of ourselves is remote. To the point where there is almost no incidence of it. We're usually pretty good at taking account of things, especially our own actions. Even if it's other alters, we'll be like, okay, I know that physically I did this. We're not gonna. There's the whole not guilty by reason of insanity thing. Honestly, if it came down to that, if I killed somebody, if one of my alters killed somebody, and it came down to the possibility of the not guilty by reason of insanity defense, if it even came to a court case, I'd most likely end up killing myself beforehand, because I would feel dangerous to myself and to others. And that actually is presented in one of the points of the movie. The guy is prepared for that eventuality, and has a shotgun and shells and everything. But again, there's still the matter of it wouldn't have come to that to begin with. You'd have to be completely blind to your own actions. And even with DID, even with time loss, you're usually all right with it. You know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. but you know what you're doing. That made no sense. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Split by M. Night Shyamalan. Thanks for that movie, a dick. I have to deal with people now wondering whether or not I'm going to be some psychotic killer. Fuck you, too.